Things are unraveling in Ann Arbor, off the field at least. Sam, it's not looking great for the Wolverine coaching staff as the season gets closer to the home stretch.
No, it's not, Luke. But you know who it is looking great for? That would be Oklahoma State. That's right, the Cowboys turned a lot of heads after handing Oklahoma its second consecutive loss in the battle for Bedlam.
We go back-to-back weeks with Adams in the juicer. Adam Avin battles with Sam on CitrusTV's most coveted battleground. Also, we tell you who has something to look forward to in college basketball this season and who doesn't. It's No Pulp, and it starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling? I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Welcome to No Pulp. Luke Burgess, Sam Reis here with you. Exciting. Got some new faces on the block.
Yeah.
Switching up the days. We got so much going on here. It's a Sunday. It's not a Monday. This isn't a No Pulp day. Well, today it is, and we're excited to be with you. We've got a whole lot to talk about. Sam, I want to get right on into some of our headlines, and it was announced over the weekend. Michigan has, originally it was announced as a firing. Now It's been changed to a resignation.
Yep.
Connor Stallions, the analyst for Michigan football, has resigned amidst the sign-stealing scandal. There's a whole lot going on here. I don't think we really know all of the details, but I do want to ask you some of your thoughts on what we do know.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a complicated matter because obviously it's taken the college football world by storm, and understandably so, because it's a Michigan team that has had a lot of success over the years, no doubt about that. Currently undefeated this year as we take a look at the timeline of events leading up to Stallings' resignation. When it comes down to it, Luke, whether it was going to be a firing or resignation, I'm not surprised this ultimately happened because from a pure football perspective with Michigan, never mind all of these details we have, it was an unnecessary distraction for Michigan. So I'm not surprised that Stallions is now out the door. Now, what happens from here on out regarding any punishment within the team, that remains to be seen.
Absolutely. And you talked about how he thought it was maybe a bit of a distraction, and that's kind of what led to that resignation. Right. Well, there's actually a quote that we want to read from Stallions' attorney, and he talked about, we'll have it up here for you, he hopes his resignation will help the team and coaching staff focus on tomorrow's game and the remainder of the season. Connor also wants to make it clear that to his knowledge, neither Coach Harbaugh nor any other coach or staff member told anyone to break any rules and were aware of improper conduct regarding the recent allegations of advanced scouting. And that's Brad Beckworth, Stallions' attorney. So it begs the question, what was the distraction? Well, clearly it wasn't too much of a distraction. They rolled Purdue yesterday 41-13. Yeah. But down the line here, Michigan really has not been tested so far in their schedule. They've got games against two elite teams in college football in Penn State and Ohio State. I guess it depends on whether you want to call Penn State elite at this point or not. My heart is still a little bit torn. But I want to ask you, does this affect them in these final three games?
No, I don't think it does. At the end of the day, I mentioned how I thought this resignation and Stallions leaving was best for the team regarding everything going on. But at the same time, Luke, it's a very talented football team in Michigan. If they lose to Penn State or Ohio State, it won't be because of these allegations and the scandal, if you want to call it that. It'll be because they're outplayed at the end of the day.
And we got USC and Washington now. We're going to talk about some on-the-field action, and it was the battle of the poster boys of college football as far as QBs go. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, the Heisman winner from last year, and I think in a lot of people's minds, the front-runner for Heisman this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, sure, it was a game where there wasn't much defense at the end of the day. I don't care how good both quarterbacks are. There wasn't a lot of defense on display, but at the end of the day, I like a high-powered offensive game once in a while, Luke, and that's what made this primetime matchup very enjoyable from a neutral perspective because you do have two star quarterbacks who are going to make even more leaps going forward, and I'm talking in the NFL in the future in Michael Penix and Caleb Williams, and they both had really good games in my opinion. I mean, even though USC lost this game, Caleb Williams was still making incredible passes, also very accurate, going 27 for 35. You see his stats right there. Didn't turn the ball over, no interceptions, had 3 touchdowns. At the end of the day, you have to feel for Caleb Williams a bit because again and again, it's USC's defense who just can't get the job done, Luke.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams after the game, a little bit emotional, and I really do think you have to feel for the kid. All this pressure is on him, all the eyes of the world are on him, and now this year as he started to struggle a little bit, largely due to matters that really aren't in his control, he's really faced the scrutiny of the outside world, whereas last year there was a lot of positives. I think that one of the things you got to talk about from this game, you'd be remiss not to, is the running back performance. How about Dylan Johnson? I mean, we talk so much about these QBs, but 256 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was a powerhouse out there. And I was watching back on this game this morning, and one of the things that is just you cannot not notice, he's running past these linebackers while they're trying to tackle him, and they can't even get an arm on him.
That's right. It was a very impressive performance from the junior Johnson. Luke, and you're right, beyond Penix and his passing ability, there's also that run threat that Washington poses. In the end, the Huskies got the job done, and they're very much a college football playoff contender.
There's another big game going on in the Battle of Bedlam, Oklahoma State. So you didn't have to travel very far if you were trying to make the trip. And, of course, it was in Oklahoma State on their campus. Your thoughts on this game that I think did not go the way a lot of people thought it would. Of course, Oklahoma had struggled, a loss to Kansas in the previous week, but now they get upset on the road.
They do, and this was eye-opening for me, for the Sooners to lose yet another game, back-to-back losses now, and credit has to be given to this Oklahoma State team, Luke, because they're playing with plenty of momentum right now, came into this one with confidence against their rivals, and what stands out for me in this one was down 24-21. What do the Cowboys do? They drive 97 yards down the field, only needed 8 plays to score a touchdown and take the lead, and it was a very balanced offense as well from the Cowboys. Alan Bowman threw for 334 yards, which was actually a very similar stat line to Dylan Gabriel on the other side, and then Ollie Gordon continues to be a lethal running back for this team. The Cowboys are hot right now. This was a big-time win, and overall, this was a very even game and a fun one in this rivalry.
When you talk about what stands out to you, well, what stands out to me was the physicality from this Oklahoma State team. I watched back once again, looking back at this game, and this was something I noticed during the game. Oklahoma State just used the body so much more, and I really think that maybe the Sooners thought they would be able to overpower the Cowboys with talent in this game. Oklahoma State definitely didn't have that mentality coming in. They used their physicality. The offensive line was great the entire game, and I think that really won them this game when it came down to it.
Yeah, and that's what I love in rivalry games like this. Sometimes it comes down to something like that, physicality in a one-possession game, and yeah, Oklahoma just didn't have what it took in the end. Credit to Oklahoma State for pulling out this result and staying in contention for that Big 12 title game.
They didn't have what it took. We'll see if Adam Avin has what it takes to beat Sam Reis in the juicer when we come back on No Pulp. We're going to hit our first break. Stay with us.
Here's to the straggly ones, the lopsided ones, the first ones, the I miss my beard ones. And hey, I look good with this ones. But no way he's grown that in a week ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. That one. The itchy ones. The never forgotten ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The started late ones. The absolutely filthy ones. The drawn on ones. The finger ones. The pin ones. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the yeah, why not ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
Welcome back into our Citrus TV studios. Luke Burgess, Sam Reis, and now Adam Avin joining us in the juicer. What we believe, we don't have this confirmed, could be the first all-sophomore juicer ever.
Wow.
Who knows?
This is really exciting.
It's an honor.
It's really exciting.
It doesn't change the way that we play, though. We're going to get right into it. We want to talk first about what team has shocked you the most this season in a good way. I'll start with you, Adam, guest. I'll give you the honors. What do you think?
Thank you. The team that has shocked me in a good way. Sam, I grew up in SEC County. I know all those teams like the back of my hand, and there is no college football team that has shocked me more with their good play this year than the Missouri Tigers. Missouri has been a team that's been really bad the past 10 years, and for some reason this year, they've just been on a roll. There are 2 losses coming to LSU. One of them coming to LSU, but really they were never thought of as a threat for the most part. That's a Missouri Tigers team that has only had 1 2-loss season in the past 10 years, that one coming in 2014. And look, I know they went into Samford and lost to Georgia yesterday, but that was a 1-score game for most of it, and the old Missouri Tigers would not do that. So I was pretty impressed with Missouri's play this year. After all, I am a Gators fan. I do know that we do have a pretty good record against them. So.
All right, admittedly, I can side on you with that one. But no, it's a better pick. The Louisville Cardinals. I got to go to the ACC for this one because, oh my goodness, what a season the Cardinals are having. It's reminding me of the Lamar Jackson days. Even better than that now is Louisville playing. I mean, are you kidding me? Especially with the expectations this team had. They were 8th in the ACC preseason poll, Adam, and where are they currently sitting? They're currently sitting 2nd in the conference. They could easily end up in the ACC championship game, 8-1 overall, and overall, they just have Virginia and Miami left on the schedule in ACC play. Those are both winnable games. The defense has really stood out for this team. In fact, they have only allowed 3 points in their last 2 games. Who could have saw that coming, Luke?
Well, you guys both have things in common with your 2 teams that both programs have struggled mightily in some years through the last few years. But there is one thing you don't both have in common. You talked about how you're from SEC country. Well, I'm from Pittsburgh area. Louisville lost to Pitt this year. Pitt is not a good team. They're a 2-win team.
Was
for that
one
reason,
loss. Come on.
Adam Avin wins number 1, Mizzou on top. Let's talk about the other side of things now. We talked shocked good. What team has fallen from grace and not met expectations during this college football season?
All right, well, Luke, frankly, I'm disappointed this is even a question because it's obviously USC. USC came into this year 6th in the country, obviously led by Caleb Williams, their Heisman-winning quarterback, the number 1 college prospect in the country. And now for weeks, this has been the time in the year where the college football playoff rankings came out and people have to decide whether this team should even really be ranked or not at all. And Sam, you answered my answer for me earlier in the show. Their defense has led them into a hole this year.
This was predictable, though. Bad defense.
Really? Okay, we know their defense has been bad, but I'm going to dip into my Stephen A. big bag of vocabulary. It's been abysmal. It has been awful. And thank God Christmas came early for USC fans, say, because Alex Grinch, their defensive coordinator, got the boot, right? But even though the defense has been really bad, the offense can still put up points galore. And USC fans need to be a little happy that the defense is hopefully on the turnaround. However, you're telling me that this USC team can go into the Big Ten next year with this type of defense? USC took a big fall from the start of last year.
Well, I got to go to the ACC again. I'm sticking in that conference. I have to go with Miami. They've certainly fallen from grace. I mean, are you kidding me? This was a team who I think had a fair share of good expectations, a talented roster, got off to a 4-0 start, and it was about to be 5-0 before Mario Cristobal made one of the wildest decisions to run a play instead of kneeling the ball. What does Georgia Tech do? They go down the field and score, and the Hurricanes, that marked the start of their downfall. I mean, they just haven't managed to recover since then, Adam. They lost to UNC after that, who turns out isn't that good, and then most recently, they only scored, I should say, just 2 field goals against NC State. What has happened to this team?
It's been like this for 20 years.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah,
I'm going to cut you off. There is one thing I think we have to talk about as far as clarification goes. For me, fall from grace means the team has to get worse. Miami's gotten better this year. They're 6-3. Last year they had a losing record.
No, but this season,
USC lost in a bowl game this year. I mean, they're going to make one this year, but I don't know that it's even going to be close. That Tulane loss was by 1 point. Adam Avin up 2-0.
I don't know about that, Luke.
Wow. All right, we got one more for you. Last one. This one is worth 2. You could tie. We're going to talk about our bold prediction for the rest of the season.
All right, well, I'm giving it to you. Oklahoma State will win the Big 12, Adam. Book it. I'm telling you right now, this will happen. I mentioned it earlier in the last block. The Cowboys playing with plenty of momentum. In fact, they've had 5 wins in a row and quality victories as well. 3 ranked wins. Kansas State, Kansas, and most recently Oklahoma in the rivalry game. No ranked opponents left. They should win out the regular season. It's been a very effective run game. And overall, when you look at Texas, who I think this Oklahoma State team will play in the Big 12 title game, they've been a little shaky. They played Houston close, had a close game this past weekend that they had to eke out in overtime. Quinn Ewers has been out for 2 straight games. If he's not that healthy, this Longhorns team is in trouble. Cowboys to win the Big 12 title, baby.
All right, well, that was a mild prediction, okay? I'm going big picture stuff. This prediction is the boldest prediction to ever be on No Pulp, okay? I'm not so sure that there is going to be more than one team in the college football playoff that's undefeated. And I know you might be thinking, that's crazy, because there are legit 5 teams right now that are undefeated that can all deserve a spot in the college football playoff. You see them up there on the screen right now. But you might be thinking there's no way that 4 of those 5 teams lose come college football playoff time. Well, let's look at the possibilities. You got Michigan and Ohio State. Those 2 teams are going to have to play, and one of them is going to have a loss in their one in their loss column. Then who else is sitting pretty right now? You got number 2 Georgia. Georgia's going to have to play Alabama. Luke, you like Alabama. You said watch out for them. Alabama's on the rise. If the season ended today, they would play in the SEC championship, and that's probably what it's going to be at the end of the year. And I have some faith in Alabama that they're going to be able to pull it off. Jalen Milroe is rotating the offense to new heights. And lastly, obviously, we got Oregon, Washington State. That's going to be a matchup in the Pac-12 championship. Washington undefeated, just beat USC this week. But the Oregon Ducks almost had them last time. That's a few teams right there that could end up with losses come end of the season. I'm not so sure this is going to be one of those years where we have 3 undefeated teams in the college football playoff.
Are either of you guys finance guys at all?
No.
Don't give me any
I don't
numbers.
do a good job at managing my finances.
All right, well, if you were, you would know. You got to buy stock that's going up. You want to get it when it's low and it's on the rise. Oklahoma State is on the rise right now.
Correct.
They're a team that's trending in the right direction. Just be an Oklahoma team that only 2 weeks ago we were talking about them being in the college football playoff. For that reason, Sam Reis, you get the last point. I don't think that's going to be enough for you to get the win. So Adam Avin, it's a tie. It is a tie.
Yes, it's a 2-pointer.
Have no pulp have not changed. So let's see some
proved why
rock,
your point
paper,
wasn't
scissors.
bold,
Rock,
okay?
paper, scissors, 1 round to see who wins it all.
Are we doing best of 3 or 1?
Right here.
Best 3 or 1?
No, 1 go. Let's go. All right, Adam Avin wins
Doesn't
the juicer.
count.
Yes!
One more
Doesn't count.
point.
2 to 1 anyways. 2 to 1.
So
No.
we're going to head to break. When we come back, we're
It's a tie.
switching sports.
Rematch.
We're going over to the hardwood. We got some college basketball. Sam and I are going to give our predictions on each and every conference, major conference, who we think is going to win when we come back on No Pulp. Stay with us.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Back here on No Pulp, Luke Burgess, Sam Reis. We've said goodbye to Adam Avin with his medal. He's going to walk off into the sunset after that illustrious tie-breaking win. We've got some major conference college basketball predictions to bring to you. We're going to start in Syracuse's conference, the ACC, Atlantic Coast. Of course, that's not going to be so valid next year when they add a couple teams. But
True.
Give me your prediction. Hit me real quick.
Yeah, this is easy. It's a no-brainer. It's the Duke Blue Devils, Luke. This is a Duke team that is returning most of its starters. In fact, 4 starters return. Proctor, Roach, Filipowski, and Mitchell Add on to that they're bringing in the #2 recruiting class in the country. You have some very talented freshmen who can make an immediate impact. You see they're ranked #2 in the preseason national AP poll. I think this is one of the easier picks. Duke will have no problem in the ACC this year.
I'm going to go and agree with you on this one. I know we don't agree too much. That's kind of not, the point of a debate show. But yeah, it's a pretty easy pick here. I would say Duke, they, as you said, ranked #2 in the preseason poll. Another thing I don't think people are considering too much is that John Shire, he's got another year of head coaching experience under his belt. This Duke team does not struggle to recruit. They have probably the strongest name brand in the entire country when it comes to college basketball.
Yep.
Coach K there for so long, but we're going to move conferences now.
Yeah.
Talk about the Big East.
Let's go to the Big East. Of course, UConn, the defending national champs. However, do they have what it takes, Luke, to win this conference this season?
Well, I don't think so, but I want to hear your pick first. Give me yours.
Okay, all right. I'm going with Marquette, actually, Luke. I think this Golden Eagles team is on the rise. I really do. And I could have gone with UConn. It'll be close between these two teams, but you can't forget that this was a 2 seed last year. Marquette was in March Madness, but despite being upset by Michigan State, they finished with a 29-7 record. And just like I was talking about Duke earlier, they returned most of their starters. They'll have a bad taste in their mouth from how last year ended in March Madness. I think they'll be hungry, motivated, and they edge out UConn to win the Big East title.
You know who doesn't have a bad taste in their mouth from how last season ended?
Who's that?
The national champions. UConn. Well, they won last year. They lose Adama Sanogo to the NBA, to the Chicago Bulls, but they do return quite a bit of scoring as well. And the college basketball offseason is so long. You don't really, there's no such thing as a championship hangover, in my opinion. You've got these quick turnarounds, 2-3 month off seasons in a lot of major professional sports. That doesn't exist in college basketball. They've had forever to get ready for this big season, and I think the defending national champs get it done again in the Big East. They take the win.
All right, let's now shift over to the Big Ten, Luke.
Keeping things big.
Keeping things big indeed. Who do you have taking this conference? Because, of course, Purdue had all those expectations, #1 seed, upset by the 16 seed FDU, I should say. Does Purdue have what it takes to win this conference this year?
They don't. They have the best player in the country by, I'd say, popular opinion in Zach Edey. But you got to look not too much further down this original AP preseason poll, and find Michigan State, the Spartans. Give them a look.
Okay.
And they are one of the most prolific scoring teams coming into this season. I think the biggest reason for that, they returned 5 of their top 6 scorers from last year. I think chemistry is incredibly underrated. We see so much turnover in college football, college basketball. Especially in college basketball, though, you've got these guys leaving after 1 year. We got Jaden Akins. He is a threat from 3. Xavier Booker, he's going to debut for this team this year, and he figures to play a huge role. As I already said before, though, that stat cannot be ignored.
Sure.
5 of top 6 scorers.
I get what you're saying for Michigan State, but I think Purdue takes care of business in the Big Ten. I do. You mentioned Zach Edey. But this team has a lot more than that, Luke. They have efficient scoring all around, and you look at 2 guys who made an impact last year as freshmen. Those guys, Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith, they've impressed me a lot in their freshman campaign, and I think they'll become even better shooters this year. And that's the key for the Boilermakers. If they can improve offensively just a little bit and get more reliable scoring, which I think they will with that experience, this team has what it takes to win the Big Ten, and of course, they'll be hungry after that unbelievable upset last season that they suffered.
Big East, Big Ten.
Yep.
Now we got the Big 12.
There we go.
I think the thing you got to look at is it's important to not sometimes rather to just give the team the credit it deserves. Kansas is a team that deserves its credit. And of course, they bring in Hunter Dickinson now, who is one of the most prolific scoring threats in the country last year. He comes over from the Big Ten, adds on 2 to that number to the Big 12, and he's with Kansas. They are #1 in the country for a reason. I really think the only thing that's holding this team back from another incredibly successful regular season, then into March Madness, is their ability to shoot threes. They've lost a few guys who could shoot from beyond the arc. They weren't phenomenal in that department last year. They've got to do that. You got Dejuan Harris Jr., Kevin McCullough, and KJ Adams Jr. as well, all prolific scoring threats. They've got talent. They do it every year. I think they do it again.
Okay, Kansas always a favorite, no doubt, in this conference, but I'm looking at a new team in the conference in the Big 12, and that's the Houston Cougars. But look, this isn't your traditional team moving conferences. this is a proven team. Sure, they've been in the AAC, but this was a #1 seed in the tournament last year before getting upset in the Sweet 16. But just looking back at the last 5 years, Houston's a program that has consistently been a threat to win the national title. They haven't been able to get over that hump, but when you have a coach like Kelvin Sampson, who has that experience, coaching matters much more in college basketball than it does in the NBA. I get you lose a guy like Marcus Sasser, but there's a lot of depth on this team. I think they turn some heads and get the job done and win this conference in their first year in the Big 12.
And now we're going to move to a conference that will be no more after some time. Moving down the table to the Pac-12. I'm going here with Arizona, a team that is, a very solid team all around. I think Caleb Love comes in from UNC this year.
Right.
He was a lead scorer on that team. And I don't know if anyone is going to be able to stop this team when they're on offense. They've got scoring threats at literally every single position. Yeah. I think it really just comes down to consistency. Can they hold it all the way through into the end of the season? That was the issue last year.
Yeah, I'm also going with Arizona. I have to agree with you on some of these, Luke. And I also have to point on that addition of Caleb Love, who comes over from UNC. He's going to make an impact right away. This offense is only getting better for the Wildcats. Watch out. They take the Pac-12.
On to our final conference now, final major conference. We're heading down to the Southeast. We're talking a little bit of SEC. Give me what you got.
Going with the Aggies. Texas A&M. This is a team that had a solid season last year. They went 15-3 in conference play, actually, and 4 starters returned this season. That includes Wade Taylor and Radford, who both averaged more than 13 points a game last year. That duo, for example, Luke, will have even more chemistry this year. This is a team that might not be the favorite to win the conference, but I like the direction they're trending in, and they tend to be a big tournament team as well when it comes to the SEC tournament. Still have to make that leap in March Madness, though.
Let's go a few states over east. Go to Tennessee. They get Zakai Ziegler back this season. You also get Josiah Jordan-James, who's trying to stay healthy, and that really is the key for this Tennessee team. Can they stay healthy on both sides of the ball? That was a huge issue for them last season, just outside the top 10. But once again, they can be really strong. It's just about getting those guys on the court on a consistent basis to win those big games.
No doubt about that, Luke. And we'll step aside for a quick moment. Great to talk some hoops. After the break, we'll put a wrap on the entire show with our final word. Make sure to stick around. We'll take you to the finish line on this edition of No Pulp.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Wrapping things up here on No Pulp, Luke Burgess here with you. Sam Reis is just over there. We'll get to him in a second. We're going to talk, my final word. I'm going back to the SEC, but not hoops this time. We're back on football. For Alabama, Jaden Milroe. This was a guy we were talking about at the beginning of the season as maybe not having a spot on this team. Alabama didn't have a quarterback. Well, now we're talking about him as one of the better quarterbacks in the country. They've improved immensely. And I think it's really all a credit to head coach Nick Saban, a consistently excellent coach. And you got to really commend the mental toughness that it takes from Milroe to start the season as a bench guy, come back, and now, we're looking at him as one of the better players in the country.
Yeah, you know what, Luke? I'm going to go, Adam Avin brought up some undefeated teams in the college football playoff mix, but I'm going to an undefeated team that is relatively new to the FBS, and that is James Madison. And due to NCAA requirements, they require transition period where the first 2 years you make the jump to FBS, you're not eligible. This is a 9-0 team, however. They don't need any transition, Luke. They very well could finish the regular season undefeated, but that would be it for them. I just think that's a little unfair for seniors. They can't even play in the Sun Belt title game either. I think that's a little bit harsh. NCAA, I know you won't do it, but give James Madison some postseason play. Come on.
Got to give him a shot. Well, we had some fun, we had some talks, we had some arguments, but overall we had a good time on this edition of No Pulp. Sam, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you to the whole crew. Luke Burgess and Sam Reis saying so long.